What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bigfoot Report. Guys, first off, I want to apologize for not getting any more encounter episodes out over the last week or so. Tiffany has been under the weather, she's been pretty sick. I have had a few things going on myself, so we just haven't been able to record those. It has given us a chance, though, to catch up on getting some more in. The one we have for you today, oh my goodness, it is a doozy, and I think you guys will agree that it was worth the wait. It's just one story today. Miss Tiffany narrated it. It was sent in to me from a listener fairly recently, within the last probably 10 days or so. Guys, this is a very, very good one. Tiffany's going to tell you all about this gentleman and his Sasquatch family. Guys, sit back, relax, get ready. We are ready. Let's get started.
Hey, Wayne and Tiffany. I hope you guys are well. I'm a huge and loyal fan of the show. I'm glad you made the jump to all Bigfoot content. I do enjoy a good scary story from time to time, but Bigfoot is just what I have come to expect from you too. Especially you, Wayne. It's awesome knowing there's a podcaster out there that also actually is active in boots on the ground field research. All that being said, I love you guys, and please keep up the awesome work. I have finally decided to tell my story. I have struggled with it for years now, and I just feel like it's time. I live in South Carolina, northern South Carolina to be exact. My family has had property here since before I was even born. Years ago, it was an active and thriving cattle ranch. Not wanting to go into painful and, quite frankly, embarrassing memories, I'll just say it isn't that anymore. As of this very second, it's only used for hunting, and it's been that way since before I was born, back in the 60s. A lot of it has been sold off over the years, but we still have a little over 200 acres. Almost all wooded and definitely overgrown. The only remaining structure is a very much off-of-the-grid hunting cabin. We use it every single year, so it's maintained quite well and could actually house someone year-round if needed. It is something that my family takes great pride in. Kind of a little vacation retreat, if you will. For family only, of course. We are quite private about the cabin and its location, for many reasons. But for one of those reasons, it's even more important. There is a family of Bigfoot that we share the land with. Yep, you heard me right. A family of Sasquatch that's been there for a lot longer than we have. When I was just a boy, back in the 80s, my dad would take me out there for hunting weekends. It was truly some of the best times of my life. Dad's no longer here, so it's just the memories that I have left. I was the only boy and had two older sisters that never quite took to hunting. They are, without a doubt, very much girly girls. Needless to say that when my dad found out he was finally getting his son, he was over the moon and was damn sure I was going to be a hunter. My father was the greatest man I had ever known. When I hear stories about people growing up without a dad, it shocks me. It's just inconceivable to me how a man can abandon his children. That's one thing I never had to deal with. I'm getting off subject. Back to the story. I remember one trip when I was around 12 years old. This would have been around the mid-80s. It was just me and my dad. It was a Friday evening when we got there. We probably could have gotten a late hunt in, but Dad was so tired he wanted to call it a night. We turned in early that night so we could be up early the next morning and in the blind before the sun was up. I almost always fall asleep fast when I'm there, and usually I get the best night's sleep. That wasn't the case this time, though. Sleep would just not find me. I tossed and turned for a good 2 hours, I'd say. It was the strangest thing. I felt like I was being watched. At this time, I knew nothing of the Sasquatch on the property. My dad, of course, did, and I come to find out he had been waiting till I got older to tell me. When we got up the next morning and headed out, I was exhausted from the tossing and turning all night, but I pushed through it. I had been coming here and walking these woods in the dark since I was 5 years old, so fear is just something I didn't feel while I was here. Not to mention my dad was right beside me, just like always. This morning was different, though. There was a pit in my stomach that a 12-year-old just isn't used to and can't explain. Now, as a grown man, I know that feeling to be anxiety. Something was wrong, and I couldn't explain it. We get to the blind and climb in, and that's when it hit me. I just started to cry. I asked my dad if we could just please go home, that I was scared. I will never forget the look on my dad's face. Now that I'm a father myself, I know what he was feeling. As a parent, when your child hurts, you hurt. You do anything in your power to make it better. I remember him hugging me and pulling me into his lap, forcing a smile and saying, "What's wrong, buddy? Are you hurt? Is your stomach upset?" All I can say back is, "I'm scared and I don't know why." The sun was beginning to make its way through the trees at this point. That, and being held by my dad, I was starting to feel better. Dad just said, "You're all right, buddy. Let the sun come up, and if you still want to leave, we'll go." He made a couple little stupid jokes and got me laughing a bit, and before I knew it, I was feeling like a whole new kid. Dad was always good at making me feel better. He always knew just what to say. I was not ready for the conversation we were about to have, though. He asked me, "So what will it be, kiddo? We leaving, or are we going to get that buck that we've been after?" All of a sudden, I was back to my old self, and I did not want to go home. I was finally having fun. I could tell this made him happy, so I was happy. We're sitting there for about 30 minutes, I'd say, when he broke the silence and said, "Hey, buddy, I think there's something that we need to talk about. I was about your age and coming here with your grandpa and Uncle Larry when I first got that feeling that you had this morning. That's the day they told me. So this is the day I'll tell you. I had no idea that life as I knew it was about to shift." Dad said, "We aren't alone in these woods. We never have been. We have had guests every single time we've set foot on this property." I had no idea what to think at that moment. "Please try not to be afraid when I tell you the rest of it," he said. "They aren't exactly like us. They understand that we are afraid of them at first, so they will never show themselves until you make it known that you want them to. They are huge, much taller and heavier than us. So yes, if they wanted to, they could hurt us. They never have, though, and it's known that they never will unless we hurt one of them. They know all about our guns and that we can use them to hurt them as well, so there's always been that mutual respect. They also eat the deer from here, but they don't mind that we hunt because we could never take enough of them to affect them. They also eat the fish from the stream. They come in a few different colors, and they are covered in hair like our own. Over the next few minutes, he recounts several experiences he has had with them. His dad and his dad's dad, and on and on. The whole time, I'm sitting there with my jaw dropped, just taking it all in. When he finally stops and I get to talk, I ask him, "Dad, are you talking about Bigfoot?" He busted out laughing and said, "Yes, son, I'm talking about Bigfoot." I told him that there are a few of my buddies at school that talk about them sometimes, and that I had actually checked out a book from the library about them once. I haven't ever heard anyone talk about them being around here, though. I'll be honest. I kept waiting for him to start laughing and telling me he was just messing with me. That didn't happen, though. I even asked him, "Dad, you're kidding me, right?" He simply said, "No, son, I'm not kidding you." I then asked him, "Well, does Mom know?" This crooked little grin came across his face as he says, "Oh yeah, your mother knows all about them. You will need to get her side of the story of when she finally worked up the nerve to see one," as his belly bounced up and down from laughter. "Dad, will I ever get to see one?" He said, "Oh yeah, as soon as you're ready." But you are not ready now, buddy. I did not disagree with him. The rest of that afternoon, I don't think I even looked for a deer. I had so many questions. This was heaven for a 12-year-old boy. Eventually, we start to get hungry, so we make our way back to the cabin. That was the longest walk back ever. Every little sound sent me jumping. Dad just laughed and would say, "You're all right, boy. I promise." I had never held that old Marlin 30-30 so tight in my life. When we got back, we had a couple of ham and cheese sandwiches, and although I didn't mean to, I just passed out. I guess the adrenaline dump and the fact that I may have gotten 3 hours of sleep the night before finally hit me, and I ended up sleeping through the night. The rest of the weekend was uneventful. Dad did end up shooting a buck, so all in all, it was a fantastic weekend. Before we left, Dad went out and got a bag of apples from the truck. That's when it hit me. That's why Dad always brought a bag of apples. He walked out to the woodline and just sat it down. Being a kid, you just don't think to question certain things. I had never before stopped to think about why he always bought apples, but we never ate them, or why they were always gone when we got back. It was a gift-giving tradition that my grandpa started, Dad told me. From then on out, I couldn't wait to get back out to the cabin. I can't explain it. It just felt different to me now. I was never afraid to be there again. In fact, to be honest, I always felt kind of protected. That's so crazy to say, but it's true. I always felt like someone was watching over me. My guard squatch, if you will. Ha ha. Eventually, as we all do, I got older. The years start to go by, and before you know it, I'm 16 and I can drive there. That's how I can remember how old I was when I told Dad that I was ready to see them. I told him on the trip there while driving his old Ford pickup. He just looked at me and said, "Are you sure?" I honestly thought I was. We get there and begin our routine of unloading the gear and the food. It's a little after noon when we're all done and settled in. We start to talk about the process. He told me at any given time, there is at least one within sight of you, that he can't even tell me how many times we've walked right past one on our way to the blind, and that if they don't want you to see them, you won't. We were sitting on the front porch when Dad looked over at me and says, "Okay, Last time I'll ask. Are you sure you're ready for this? I just nod my head yes to him. He nods back, goes to stand up, and says, "Well, come on." We walk down the steps, and I follow him to the back side of the cabin. We go to about the middle of the part we call the backyard. It's really just a cleared out spot with a fire pit. Dad throws his head back and screams one word. It's a Native American word from a tribe I will not mention, nor will I type or even speak the word out loud in front of anyone that isn't family. This is our word alone, and we are trusted with it. I didn't even know it myself till that very moment. I've been told that we aren't the only family out there with this type of relationship. There are others with tribes or families of Sasquatch that share property. We each have a certain word that we use. One of the reasons I'm choosing to share this now is I'm hoping one of the others in a similar situation is able to contact you guys, Wayne and Tiffany, and maybe you can put us in touch with one another. It's a long shot, I know, but it would be nice. Anyway, after doing this, he said, "And now we wait." It couldn't have been more than 5 minutes later that I noticed the smile come across my dad's face. He nodded his head toward the woodline and said, "There you go." Guys, I kid you not. My dad had to remind me to breathe when I looked over and saw what I saw. Standing there no more than 25 yards away was this giant, light brown hair-covered, almost human-looking being. And then come to find out it was female, and she's holding this much, much smaller one. How in the hell she managed to come through the woods and get that close to me without me hearing a thing, I cannot tell you, but she did. Did I mention she was huge? Well, that's what I thought until the next one stepped out a few yards behind her and walks up behind them. This one was a full head taller than her and black as coal. It was hard to make out any real facial features on him due to him being so dark, and the fact that his hair and skin and the parts where there wasn't hair, like the face and palms, were the same color. That wasn't the case with the mama. Her hair was light brown, but her skin was a much darker brown, not quite black. The little one was colored a lot like the daddy. There was absolutely no neck on either of them. Head was conical and appeared to just set on top of their shoulders. Their face had kind of a caveman look to it, like a Neanderthal, I guess you could say, that crossed with Native Americans. Nothing at all like I had ever imagined, or any pictures I had ever seen before. The whole thing lasted probably no more than 3 or 4 minutes. Then they turned and walked away together back into the woods. I was left speechless, shocked, and forever changed. I've managed to see them several more times since that day, even a couple others. I've gotten to see the little one grow into the giant that he is today. Turns out once you see them that first time, the trust begins, and they make themselves more available. I've only called them in with our word one time myself. That was when I introduced my wife to them. She honestly took it a lot better than I thought she would, and she loves to visit the cabin with me now. I know this is a very unique and albeit very hard to believe relationship, but it's one I wouldn't trade for the world. I'll also introduce my sons to them one day, and I cannot wait for that chance.